Hello, everybody, and welcome to the AP Government Skills webinar, or welcome back if you're back joining us, presented by the Bill of Rights Institute. We're super happy to have you here, help you prepare for the upcoming AP Government and Politics test. These webinars are designed specifically to help you with the skills required for the test. So on today's webinar, we are going to be going through the quantitative analysis FRQ. I am your BRI host, Liz Evans. I'm the Regional Programs Manager here at BRI. And I taught AP Gov for about 6 years, so I'm going to be monitoring the chat and helping you with as many questions as you have. And again, joining me is teacher extraordinaire, Johnny Burkowski Jr. from the Academy for Advanced Academics in Miami, Florida. So I'm going to give it to you, JP. Take it away.
Good evening. Thank you, Liz. Thank you, BRI. Thank you, GoPros. Thank you, Universe. Here we are, episode 3 of this government saga. And tonight, it is, all right, let's see, what do we got? Oh, no, what are we doing? We are quantitative analysis. Yes, the quantitative analysis FRQ. What's this about? What? Quantitative math, numbers, data? This government, I don't know. Hey, yep, math is everywhere, as your math teacher probably tells you. So here we go. Let's do a little story then. All right. If anybody who knows me, I'm a movie buff. I love the movies. I have a huge movie collection that I'm pretty proud of. My wife, not so much, but I got a big, huge part of the office, big wall of movies. I even have an awesome movie poster that I'm going to tell you about in just a second. But let's talk about the highest grossing films of all time. Here you are, and I'm sure there's been some updates recently, but we're going to go with what I got. All right, so Avengers Endgame. Oh yeah, I'm sure we've all seen that, right? Well, 2019, it's made $2.8 billion. All right, it's the #1 highest grossing film of all time. And right behind it, you can see Avatar, Titanic, Star Wars, The Force Awakens, Avengers Infinity War, Jurassic World, Marvel's The Avengers, Furious 7, Avengers Age of Ultron, and Black Panther. Those are the highest grossing films ever. And it's all based on those numbers there you see on the right, the billions of dollars. So what do we know about this? Well, we know already, right? Avengers Endgame is the #1 highest grossing film of all time. And we just broke down the list, right? So I could even ask you, oh, what was the last highest, what's the top 10? What's the, number 10? Black Panther, cool. All right, how much does Avengers Endgame actually have right now? How much has it earned? $2.8 billion, awesome. Where are they getting this calculation? Oh, they're getting it from the box office grosses from North America, particularly the United States, American theaters, and world audiences. Cool. It's right there. It's all that. Now I want to ask you this question. Do you notice anything about this list? Is there something that, you see a pattern? You look at that list of movies, and you look at that list of years, and you look at the billions of dollars. You look at the world in North America. Do you notice something? I'm going to give you a little bit. You probably already done this, probably already evaluated this, but just give you a little bit. You're like, all right, I'll tell you what I see. And let's see if you and I are on the same wavelength here. Basically, if you want to be the highest grossing film of all time, you probably are a superhero movie. Okay, I notice you have Avengers Endgame, you have Infinity War, The Avengers, you have Age of Ultron, and Black Panther. Okay, I see a little nice little trend. Like, okay, the top grossing movies. Basically, if you want to earn some of the big bucks, make a superhero movie. No, that's not always the case. All right, but in this particular list, yeah. Or how about this? Let's see. What if some of you are thinking it's if you want the big bucks, be a sequel. Be a sequel, yeah? Think about that. Endgame, Force Awakens, Infinity War, Jurassic World. Yeah, I know, I get it. Well, JB, it's a sequel, but it's also a restart. Let's not get into that. All right. Avengers, Furious 7. I don't know how many they're up to now. Now they got, the offshoots. Age of Ultron and Black Panther. That's original. Of course, it goes back to. But there you go. All right. I don't know if we want to get into the technicality of Black Panther being kind of a sequel in the MCU. It's its own thing, right? There. Can we notice anything else? What about the years? Check out the years. The trend could be, well, basically 21st century. All right, the highest grossing films of all time have been made in the 21st century. We could even say, all right, the 2010s. All right, we see a lot of that, right? 2019, 2015, 20. Basically, if you made a movie, a sequel, or a superhero movie in 2015, you were going to make some big money. There is that outlier. There's Titanic in 1997. Are they all JB? So then that breaks the streak. It breaks the streak. But remember, a trend, don't think in absolutes. But yeah, we've already kind of broken this down. And let's get a little deeper here. So what could we get from this? You're looking at, you pretend you're a Hollywood producer, pretend you're an actor, all right, actor, actress, director, and it's like, how can I put my name? How can I attach it to a movie that is going to make the big bucks, which in turn could make me the big bucks? Well, say like, let me try to be a character in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Let me get in on who are the Avengers? I want to be one. Okay, yeah, that's we could draw from that. It's like, let me try to become, if I get into become a superhero character, if I can get cast that, even if it's like a supporting character, let's get into that. Right? Or just any big sequel, any popular, Jurassic Park, that series, the Star Wars series, but definitely for sure, anything MCU. All right. Or there is another pattern, by the way. I don't know if any of you movie buffs are out there, but if we want to get really technical, Avatar and Titanic. Hey, you know what movie is going to probably make me some big bucks if I star in it or I'm attached to it? Any movie that's directed by James Cameron. Yes, if you, just in case, it's like who? James Cameron, director of Avatar, Titanic, Aliens, The Abyss. I'm sorry. So, yeah, we have kind of done some quantitative analysis. Right now, can we dig deep? Can we get deep on this? It's all like, oh, as long as you make a high-grossing movie, you're good. It's like, yeah, but what more could we say about the Hollywood industry, right? The Hollywood movie industry. What more could we say about that? Well, if we want to start connecting to, wait a minute. I mean, how really good is this? Avengers Endgame. Yeah, that was awesome because it incorporated a very successful series that started off excellent with Iron Man, and was consistently cast and directed and produced. Really was great. Adhering to the source material. It launched an attraction to all these new generations, but also, especially my generation, I grew up with a lot of these characters. I got into the comics, so I was just like, oh, this is awesome. But can we get a little bit deeper? Well, check this out. These are the top 10 highest grossing movies of all time when we adjust for inflation. Because I know that going to a movie is $50 now. Is it 50 now? I guess, I don't know. Back then, sometimes, back in the 30s and the 40s, it's like a nickel or a dime. Right? So obviously, you can't, not going to make $2.8 billion if we're going to charge moviegoers 10 cents to watch it on IMAX. All right, so we adjusted for inflation. All right, and you'll learn this in macro. But check this out. I don't see any superhero movies, No Avengers. I mean, maybe some in there could be an Avenger, but yeah, I don't see where's the pattern. But see, Gone with the Wind, 1939. That's the number one, and by far, I mean, look at it. There's really nobody relatively close to Gone with the Wind when you adjust it, right? Star Wars. Now we're seeing some consistency. Ooh, Star Wars. Right? The first one, right? Or episode 4. Yeah. Now we're starting to see, oh, there's Titanic. Oh, Titanic. Now, Titanic's in the top 10 adjusted for inflation, but it was also in the top 10, highest grossing of all time, compared it to even in today's dollars. Right? So that's interesting. So when we get into like, how can we connect it to the Hollywood movie industry? It's like, man, what really makes you successful? Could it be marketing? Could it be how movies are distributed? What I can recall that a movie could be #1 for weeks and weeks and weeks. Nowadays, the #1 movie kind of fluctuates very frequently. All right, because all of a sudden here comes the next big blockbuster. And back then, the blockbuster was kind of like you were waiting for it. And there was a huge, distance between one major blockbuster and another. And now they're kind of coming up left and right. But see, this is where we start making those connections. Like, man, how successful, how financially successful can a movie really be? When we think about it, how about we take Avengers Endgame, which is #1 today, all right, in today's numbers, in today's dollars, what if we stacked it up to here? And actually, it's lower, but when we adjust it for inflation, it's actually far away from Gone with the Wind. By the way, my movie, the #1 movie of all time, in my heart, in my soul, in my mind, in the universe, Jaws. And it's up there. It's in the top 10 of all time. It's the one that spawned the summer blockbuster. It's an excellent movie. It's great actors. It's great direction. It's an amazing soundtrack by John Williams. And by the way, next to my big collection of DVDs is a lovely movie poster of Jaws, signed, autographed by Steven Spielberg, Roy Scheider, all right, Richard Dreyfuss. Those are the stars of the movie. The author of the book that the movie is based on, Peter Benchley, and none other than John Williams, master composer, especially of Star Wars, E.T. that you see up there. So Jaws, pretty popular. You got to think about it. You make those connections, like how popular was Jaws? And like, yeah, it's the summer blockbuster. It's what kind of started all this. Let's go see a movie in May, in June, in July. All of that comes from Jaws. Okay, this was fun. I would love to keep talking about this, but we have to go back to the quantitative analysis. We did some, all right? So now you get what you kind of have to do. Okay, recap. If you've been watching these episodes, those of you that are new, welcome. Recall that the exam is here. Multiple choices first. Free response questions come right after that, after a little break. And today we are talking about the quantitative analysis. It is worth the same as the other FRQs. It's got a suggested time of 20 minutes. You got 4 points to score. Yep. It's going to be question number 2. You can kind of do whatever order, that's up to you. Let's talk about the 2021 exam details really quickly. It's, again, the 2021 exam in regards to the format is the same, paper or digital, right? So let's make sure we get that. Now, what about how it works, all right, in regards to can I do this, can I do that? Well, hopefully you've been kind of getting information about this more and more in details, getting some practice on this. But those of you deciding to go digital, right? Those of you deciding to go digital, think about this. If you try to skip ahead, this is a very, very key component here. If you decide to skip a question, and this goes with the multiple choice and even the FRQs, if you decide to skip, you can't go back. You cannot go back. If you say, I'm skipping concept application and I'm going to quantitative analysis, I don't want to deal with this right now, I'll come back to it. Nope, cannot do that on digital exam. Got to deal with what you got to do. Can't skip it. Now, can you skip parts? Can you skip parts on the FRQs? Technically, yes. All right, you can go to 2B, all right, part B of the question, and then go back to part A. By the way, a little disclaimer, let me just throw this in there. I do not recommend you do that. I do not recommend skipping parts on government FRQs. There's a flow, there's a logical sequence. The questions kind of build on each other, so please kind of be consistent with that. I'm just giving you this warning. You gotta make sure that you realize you cannot go back if you skip an entire question. Right? So you'll notice it here. All right, it kind of gives you the format of what to expect. Ask your teacher and be mindful of new information that's going to come out from College Board about being able to practice on these platforms if you're taking the digital exam. So be mindful. It's not out yet. We don't have the practice abilities yet, but they're coming. But you have an idea now, right? So please be mindful. Okay. Again, what is the source of our information? JB, give me the magic sources. What can tell me to be efficient in my review? Again, no question. Click on that link, and you get the College Board's AP United States Government course and exam description, the CED. That's the course and exam Bible. That's where you go. It's like, all right, break it down for me. How the foundational documents, the required Supreme Court cases, the essential knowledge, the big ideas. What do I need to know? It's right there. Go there. Right? Use it to review. That's where you go. But don't forget the universal Bible for AP government, for civics, in American government courses, the United States Constitution. Yes, read it. Yes, don't just read it, comprehend it. The structure, the powers, the little clauses. Yes. Don't forget the amendments. Don't forget those. Those are part of the Constitution. You have to be able to read that. You have to know what article, but these major clauses, little bits, even the powers. There's a list. Yeah, it's the Bible. It'll help you. And it's a foundational document, so you got to know it anyway. All right, so there it is. Go for it. A glorious, wonderful angel of an AP government teacher. When you click on this link, it will take you to a list of terms and concepts, or what we call specific factual information, or in your FRQs, evidence. They break it down by unit. This is all based on what is specifically in the CED, course and exam description from previous slide. That is information. That is specific factual information that College Board expects you to know. When you get a question, they may not give you a little brief description. They're gonna ask it, right? They'll potentially and likely ask it in a way that we told you're supposed to know this. So make sure that you go through that list as part of a review to say, I got to define this, I got to describe this, I got to see how this is connected to all these other concepts. All right, especially in the context of a unit. Yes, do that. You will need to use it. Now, let's get into quantitative analysis. All right, the focus is here. Okay, data analysis. This is actually a major skill. This is a major skill in government. It's a major practice, as you can see here, data analysis. You have to analyze and interpret quantitative data represented in tables, charts, graphics, maps, and infographics. Yeah. There's going to be numbers. You're going to have to, maybe even do some adding, maybe subtracting, right? Maybe review that. Okay, ask your math teacher. Just kind of maybe go over your multiplication. I don't know. All right, your percentages, your fractions. Yeah, it's trust me, you don't really need algebra. You're not going to need geometry, maybe. Right? It's as long as you can read numbers, right? And you can do the basic math. And if you can't do basic math, now's the time to start reviewing on that one. Okay, it'll be a good time. So, but yeah, this is going to be a major skill. Now we're going to break this down. All right. One of the tasks, right, that is part of quantitative analysis and is the most simple task, and this one you will be doing on the FRQ. Describe the data presented. Yeah. Look at the question. How is the data presented? What does the data show? How's it presented? What kind of graph, kind of chart? Is it an infographic? Is it a line graph? What's the key? All right, we'll get into that. What does the data show? Yeah, you're going to identify figures. Identify is a simple task. You may need to make calculations if necessary. You might have to say that that number is higher than that number, and that might work for you. That's it. this is going to be simple tax. You're going to see this. You're going to see this. Don't stress. Don't stress. Now, just to give you an idea of the JB, what they say all these infographics, graphs, charts. What am I going to be looking at? Well, I've provided you a nice little illustration of the different types of graphs that could be on the exam, could be assessed, or needed to be analyzed on the FRQ. Not to mention, you will be doing this on the multiple choice. Don't forget that. Right? Definitely quantitative analysis questions on the multiple choice. All right, so these are graphs. All right, what types of graphs could you expect? All right, for the quantitative analysis. So you see here you have a line graph. And we're going to be looking at this one. We're going to be using this one a little frequently. We have bar graphs. We have a series of bar graphs. And on the far right there, you have pie chart. And it's broken down. You can see. And you notice the titles, right? The x-axis, y-axis. Don't make sure you notice that. Break it all down. Some of these can be very, very simple. Some of these might need a second glance. You got to really kind of, especially this one in the middle. Some of them can be simple like that pie chart. But the idea is, can you read it? Do you see? Can you see what's going on here? It is basically that skill that you're going to have to do on the FRQ. Here's a chart. You will not need to stress over the difference between a chart and a graph. Do not worry about that. Do not worry about that. All right. All graphs are charts, but not all charts are graphs. Don't worry about. You don't need to stress over that. You do not need to stress over that. And I'm not going to dive into the deepness of this regarding, but yeah, this is a chart. It basically, graphs deal more with raw data, and charts kind of lump all the data together and present it in a more simple way. All right, that is a very basic difference. There's more to it, of course, but you don't need to stress about this. Don't worry. This is a table. This is a table of data. So this is one way to make a table. So just I just want you to become familiar with what you did expect. Of course, it doesn't necessarily have to be broken down so large as we see here, all these different presidents, but that you could expect this. And yeah, they could use a map and apply data. Right now, maps can be also used for qualitative analysis, but in this particular case, you may see a map where you need to do some quantitative analysis. Look at the key here that these are the individual top state marginal individual income tax rates, and they break it down by these numbers. Okay, so don't flip out if you're all like, oh my god, a map. Wait. No, check out the be able to kind of discern what a regions, directional. Sometimes they even help you out with that. And the last one, an infographic. So they take these little cute images. Sometimes might break it down this way. And you've probably seen this. Some people get really snazzy with it. College Board has rarely provided things like that. You probably see this more on the multiple choice, but don't be surprised if you see it on the FRQ. But yeah, this they have a car, and it it's basically illustrating traffic. 42 hours traffic. So here are the numbers, right? 42 hours, $160 billion fuel, lost in fuel. So they put a little gas tank, right? Coins, right? Because they're talking about how particular Americans spend. And they break it down again with data and then freight volume, and they put a Big Mac truck here, and there it is. So this is what an infographic looks like. So I wanted to make sure to calm your nerves. Some of you probably are just like, what are these things? What's a chart? What's a graph? What's an info? Now you know. Okay, so hopefully you feel better about yourself. Okay, here is the next skill that you will be doing on the FRQ. Describe patterns and trends in data. And remember, we did this earlier, right, with the movies. We saw that. Oh, look, the top 10 highest grossing movies of all time, a good portion of them are superhero movies, all right? Particularly the Avengers series. Yeah, that is what you will be doing on the FRQ. You will have to be able to determine patterns or trends. So you see there, what do you notice about the data? Right? You gotta start seeing a pattern. What trends and patterns can you identify from the data? So here's some particular types of trends. All right, positive trend, is it increasing? Do you see a trend increasing? Negative trends are decreasing. Notice any of the data decreasing over time or over series? Is there a strong or weak correlation? Do you see the particular data kind of matching up very closely with another set of data or element in the chart or infographic? So let's talk about that. Let's use this line graph that we saw earlier. So it says days of public congressional hearings, 1977 to 2017. So we got pretty much a 40-year period. So we have on the y-axis, we have total public hearing days by chamber. And you see 0, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000. And then we have it by year, 1977 to 87. So they break it down by 10-year intervals. And then we have these two lines. And this line is total House days, so the House of Representatives. And then this line graph is total Senate days. And so the Senate. So, okay, Congress, right? Congressional hearings. And it's the days of public congressional hearings. So we see like 3,000 in 1977 for the House, and just a little bit below 2,000 for the Senate. Okay. The idea is not to like, all right, let's go through one at a time. Do you notice any trends, any patterns? All right, real quick, to help you out. Do you notice that the trend of the data for both of them is that it is consistently decreasing or declining, right? You see it's declining. Wait a minute, JB, whoa, why do you say it's decreasing? Look what happened here. Look at this one, right? Like 1979 or something like that. It shot up. It decreased, but then it shot up, and then it really decreased, but then it shot up again. And what are you saying is decreasing? I go again. Avoid the outliers. Avoid, don't think in absolute terms. Trends, patterns. I like the word consistency. What is consistently happening? That's the trend here. That's the thing. It's trending downward. It's trending as a decrease, both of them, right? Maybe not as sudden, right? But over time, right? It's declining. There may be these, every now and then, like you see here in 2007, boom, right? In the House days. But then again, it goes back and like, all right, we're just kidding. So that's it. What pattern do we see, by the way? Well, I can see that in the first 20 years, right, there's a major discrepancy, there's a gap here between the total House days and the total Senate days. But in the last 20 years, they're much closer. The number of days of public congressional hearings between the two chambers is closer, right? Yes, the House is spending more than the Senate, but looking at it number-wise, again, generally, okay, you see a pattern of, whoa, in the last 20 years, it's been closer. The number of days is closer to each other. So that's what you got to do. You got to notice these patterns, notice these trends, and be able to describe them. And we're gonna see some samples. Okay. This is another major task that you're going to be doing on the FRQ. Explain patterns and trends in data to draw conclusions. Why is the data displayed as it is? What does the author of the chart graph want to show us? What conclusions? This is a big one. Can you draw by comparing the trends you found in the data? What evidence do you have to support that conclusion? So if we just go back quickly and go back to that pattern of, well, there was in the first 20 years, there's a major gap. And then in the last 20 years, it's closer. Why? This is where your government and politics knowledge and understanding can come in and say, I want to be able to draw this conclusion, kind of come up with a reason why. Why is it this? What's with this pattern these 20 years? Or why all of a sudden around 1997 do we see these particular patterns? And I would imagine that around this time, just to kind of help you out here, there was the Republican Party took over the House and the Senate in 1994, the Republican Revolution in 1994. So the Democratic party had been dominant in Congress over this time, over these first 20 years, 1977 to almost 1997. But then the Republicans took over. Could that be something where the Republican Party may address congressional hearings in a different way compared to that of the Democrats? That there it is. There's drawing conclusion. But JP, you kind of had to need to know about that. I was like, again, yes. Drawing conclusions could also, your knowledge and understanding of government and politics could help with drawing that conclusion. Okay. You could just be a little bit more general. You don't necessarily have to use the Republican Party. You could say that there could have been a political development that occurred, perhaps party control changed, right? Not necessarily the Republican Revolution in 1994, but the party control may have changed around this time, and this could explain why there is this change in the pattern, right? So when you do these patterns and trends, think about causation or comparison. And you're going to be looking at these two processes, potentially. It could be either or, all right? So cause and effect is like, well, why did that pattern start in the last 20 years? Okay, or even compare. Right? It's like, when your causation is a cause and effect, like what happened there that led to a closer, or also compare is like, hey, why is the first 20 years like this and the second half of the 20 years is different? So yeah, you can throw that in there as part of the processing in coming up with your conclusion. Okay. This is going to be the last part in regards to the FRQ. Explain what the data implies or illustrates about political principles, institutions, processes, policies, and behaviors. Again, this is where your government and politics knowledge and understanding must be used. You will have to use it. They're going to connect what's happening with that graph, all right, with that chart, right, infographic, whatever you call it, with your understanding of government and politics. What concept or principle does this data remind you of? Right? How does this data relate to a political process? What could political parties learn from this data that would affect how they operate? We could be talking, you saw Congress, right? That line chart, Congress, what's up with that? But that's also party control, political parties. What do you know about political parties? What do you know about congressional hearings? The structures of it. The question could be based on assessing that connection between what's happening in the data with your conceptual understanding of government and politics. So that is going to be the last part. Part D is going to hit that. Now, these last two, explain possible limitations of the data provided and explain possible limitations of the visual representation of the data provided. This is going to be more assessed on the multiple choice. You really won't have to get into this on the FRQ. Right? It was those first four that you're going to have to really need to get practice with FRQ development. This is going to be more, these last two are a little bit more multiple choice. Basically, they're asking about, there's got to be more to this story. They're not illustrating, they're not covering this particular part. Well, I need more. This is where you start getting into bias and reliability and credibility of data, or how data is presented. Right? The data could be factual. It's just how it's presented. Right? Those cute little patterns and trends and infographics, that could be set up for a purpose. All right, to kind of maybe distract you or try to sell you. All right, you got to be able to figure that out. But you're really going to be doing that more in the multiple choice, not really on the FRQ explicitly. Okay. When you deal with quantitative analysis, don't freak out. So that's a multiple choice. I'm just using an example, and it's also just kind of review for the multiple choice. Consider the source. All right, I'm sure you're going to see a lot of Gallup polls, Pew Research Centers. You could see it from major news networks, Fox News, NBC News. Kind of consider that, where it's coming from. Look at the title. At the top, you can see here, this is relation between views and civil liberties and gun ownership. That could clue you in. Why should you do this? Well, think about it. Again, go back to what you have to accomplish is I have to connect this to government and political concepts. Note any vocabulary terms. You saw on the line graph congressional hearings. You see here freedom of speech, right to privacy, right to guns. And of course, note the trends and patterns. Okay. These are the task verbs that you will have to do on the exam as a whole. Compare, you definitely have to do this for the FRQ, this particular FRQ, quantitative analysis. Define, no. Describe, yes. Develop an argument is basically a thesis, and that's the essay. Draw a conclusion, yeah. This FRQ needs you to do this. You won't necessarily have to do this with any other FRQ, but explicitly on the quantitative analysis, yes. And of course, explain the trend. Explain the key to victory, though. Mastering, explain the key to victory, and then identify. Oh my God, I wish all the questions were identified. Don't we all? Don't we all? Yes, but you're going to definitely have to do this on the FRQ. Okay. Writing strategy that I have for FRQs. Taking an English language arts writing strategy of claim evidence commentary. Taking AP English language or even AP English Lit. You probably heard this from your teacher in some form or fashion, but I like to apply it to government for FRQ. I call it ACE. It could be called something else, whatever, but I call it ACE. A for answer, identify the claim. We're going to be doing that task. C, cite, this is where we define or describe really relevant characteristics of the claim. And E, the juicy one, the big one, expand. Explain how the claim responds to the question, connecting to political concepts, close the loop. And you probably heard close the loop before. This really pretty much is why did I choose that claim and those relevant characteristics to answer the question? Bring it back, close the loop. Okay. So for this particular FRQ, you will have to identify, which all we need to do is ACE, the answer. You will need to describe, which all we need to do is answer and cite of ACE. And then when you explain or even draw a conclusion, you ACE the whole thing, right? Provide that claim, provide those relevant characteristics in describing it, and of course, expanding, closing the loop. Let's look at a sample. All right, we have public education spending amount spent per pupil by state in 2014. We have a key here. It's a map. Right? You see how it's color coded based on each state. Fair vote, www.census.gov, the source. So it tends to be reliable. Quantitative analysis. Here are the parts of the question. We're going to dive deeper into this. This is our sample question. Notice the cardinal directions here. That's actually going to help. All right. Okay, so here's our map. So yeah, your cardinal direction. Actually, is going to, you'll see. So here's the key. All right, but let's first start title. Title. Public education spending. Amount spent per pupil by state in 2014. Amount spent per pupil by state. And here's the key: $16,000 or more. And some of those states are darkly shaded. And we got the little dark shade with the little polka dots. 14,000 to 15,999, 12,000, 13,999, 10,000, 11,999, 8,000, 9,999, and blank is less than 8,000. Now you start looking at the map, and you have to start seeing a pattern, a trend. Compare the states, see the states based on the key. Let me help you out here. Okay. You already know how to do part A for this. Okay, you see the data, you see it. I mean, I could just ask you, so what's Florida? How does Florida spend its people there? Oh, JP, $9,999. Congratulations, you're a genius in golf. Okay, yeah, you're probably, you're gonna do something like that on this FRQ. Oh my God, this is awesome. Well, hold on, we still have more to do, but you also got to start looking for those patterns, right? It's easy to identify. You got to start looking for those patterns and trends. So public education spending by state 2014. I like to annotate. You should use your pencil. JB, can I have a highlighter on this? No. You will not be able to use a highlighter, right? Only a dark blue or black pen on your exam, right? Or a number 2 pencil, but no highlighters, no markers. No cute little pen with the different color inks that you can click. Nope. Right? Nothing other than a dark blue pen or a black pen or a number 2 pencil. That's it. On the digital exam, it's right, typing button, so you're not gonna worry. You still can't highlight on that either. But this is just to kind of visualize it today. I like to annotate, do that. I recommend it totally, kind of keeps you focused. Look over here. So I did annotation. This is basic. The yellow here is basically saying like, these are the numbers, which might actually help you. But you also notice some other colors. Look at the green. I noticed this pattern. The division between the states that spend a lot more and the states that don't spend that much. I noticed a pattern. Look at the green. The states that happen to be below this green line tend to spend less. You notice that you see a lot of the white shade with the polka dots in a lot of these states. JP, but look at this state. It's above the line. Again, the trend. Don't worry too much about that outlier. That's want to make sure you get that. But so the states that are above this line tend to spend more, right? Generally spend more per pupil, right, in public education. What else did I notice? I noticed also over here with the purple. Check it out. Look at the Northeast region, New England, New York, okay, New Jersey, Maryland. This whole Northeast region tends to spend buku bucks on public education, right? You can do this with others. You can see like, oh, look at the West Coast. Okay, all right. There's other ones, right? But I just noticed a distinct pattern over here that it's consistent. So remember, trend wise. All right. So I mean, we can start. What else? What about public education spending? What more could we get out? You're going to have to connect this to government and political concepts, such as public education tends to be the jurisdiction of more the states. So federalism, you get into the different types of federalism. That's something to consider, perhaps. You get into taxation, economic policy, fiscal policy. Okay. So here's what you have to do. Identify the most common level of education spending by states in the Southeast. So again, if you're all like, maybe I failed geography, could you remind me where the Southeast is? That's okay. The cardinal directions will help you. Okay, so south, that will be down here, and then east, that's going to be over here. Oh, there's the Southeast, right? So yeah, it helps you. They tend to help you, Identify. Oh, the simple one. Yes. Right. The most common level of education. Get into that. Describe a similarity or difference in public education spending by region. So region, Northeast, Midwest, Southeast, the South, the North, all right, West, East, all right, West Coast, East Coast. All right, that's a region. All right, Southwest, yeah, Northwest, whatever you want. Draw a conclusion, and please don't literally draw conclusion. No. This is really about explaining how about that similarity difference. Notice how C is being built upon B. In public education spending by state or region illustrated in the information graphic. D, explain. There's how public education spending as shown in the information graphic demonstrates the principle of federalism. See? So, let's ace this. Let's do this. Let's answer part A. Identify the most common level of education spending by states in the Southeast. All right. Well, first let's go back real quick. Southeast. Well, here it is. There's the Southeast. All right, Southeast. All right. I see a lot of this shade. Oh, $8,000, $9,999. The most common level of education spending in the Southeast is $8,000 to $9,999. Oh my goodness, JB, seriously? Seriously? That's going to be part A? Yes, it's awesome. That's 1 point out of the entire exam. I'm definitely going to get, I hope. Writing complete sentences. We readers, we love complete sentences and bullet points. And don't just put $8,000 to $9,999. No, man, write a sentence, a complete sentence. Sure, it's almost restating the entire question, but it's also answering the question. This is how simple it is. Don't complicate this. Just write this sentence. Most common. There it is. Boom. Moving on. Number 1 done. All right. Okay, part B. All right, that was easy. Let's do this. I can do this. There's more. Okay, hold on. They're getting a little more complex. Describe a similarity or difference in public education spending by state or region as illustrated. As illustrated in the information graphic. It's a map, infographic. Stop confusing people. Describe. Oh, Ace, what do I do? Identify and then relevant characteristics. Right? A similarity or a difference. Either one. Either one. Ooh, comparison processing in public by state or region. Here's how I did it. The Northeast region generally spends the highest amount on public education. So I've identified a region. Right now, I could base this on a similarity. I could find a similarity. I'm focusing more on a difference because here is that described. The southern states generally spend much less than the Northeast region. It's true. We go back to the map. We notice this. Yeah, I've identified a particular region, and then I describe the relevant characteristic in the sense of comparing it to another region that I noticed a particular pattern trend. And there you go. Oh my God, JB, really? And be like this. Like, JB, why can't I just say the Northeast region generally spends more than the Southeast region? When you put it this way, as a reader, I think you increase the likelihood of earning the point. I always caution my students, and I'm cautioning you that you can be efficient writers. So you want to really show the reader, like, I get what you're asking me to do. The task was to describe. I'm going to describe it for you, and I'm going to really get into that difference or similarity. So I just want you to make sure that you get where I'm coming from. Do that for the reader, because you never know. You never know when the standard says, no, we need a little bit more. Do a little bit more. Do more. Don't do the bare minimum. Trust me on this. Trust me on this. All right. As a reader, I could be like, never go for the minimum. Always do that little extra more. If your teacher's been telling you that, they're correct. They're right. I tell them, a big shout out to them. Say, awesome, fist bump. Yes, do more. Part C, draw a conclusion about that similarity difference. Public education spending by state or region illustrated in the information graphic. Now you got to use what you did in part B. Now you got to use what you did in part B to draw a conclusion. Why does the Northeast spend more relative to the Southeast? Why? Remember, it's got to be based on what you did in part B. You can't just come up with something else for general look at the map. Even if you're just like, no, I don't get what the draw conclusion, so I'm not gonna. You got to do it based on part B. So let's run with that. The Northeast region may, and here's the thing about drawing a conclusion, is that you're looking at the data, you process, and you're like, let me kind of take an educated guess here, right? You don't want to necessarily say that, oh, for sure. So that's why I put may, or even could. The Northeast region may spend more on public education due to enacting state income taxes. Northeast states generally require state income taxes, whereas Southern states generally do not enact state income taxes. JV, what if I didn't know that? Again, you don't necessarily have to use this particular identifying description, all right? This similarity comparison, similarity difference between the two regions. Could have done something else when it comes to you, but that's why you want to use your government and political knowledge to your advantage. Northeast states can generate more revenues sufficient for public education, while Southern states must appropriate less funds for public schools with limited revenue streams. Drawing a conclusion is like explain to me. So you want to really demonstrate to the reader, like, I'm gonna really explain this difference. I'm coming to a conclusion about why, what's up with the Northeast compared to the Southeast. I'm going to break it down for you. Here it is. Okay. Part D. Explain how public education spending, as shown in the information graphic. Remember, it always goes back to the information graphic. Demonstrates the principle of federalism. Principle of federalism. Right? Well, I hope everybody remembers their federalism. Right? The division of power between the states and the federal government. And of course, all the breakdown of that. How does this map, right? All the data that's involved in this map, in this infographic, I want to keep calling it, what does that got to do with federalism? Well, this FRQ, like all FRQs, is always going to do this. It's always going to go and say, we are going to assess your government and political knowledge and understanding. Here we go. States possess a reserved power over public education. So there's a claim, right? That's my identifier. States possess a reserved power, and that reserved power, specific terminology is essential in success on the FRQs. Use specific vocabulary, essential. You must use this. Please avoid the vagueness. Please avoid the generalities, the generic terms. Don't say states can do stuff on public education. What? No. States possess a reserved power, because remember, you're going to this principle of federalism, and reserved power is associated with federalism. That the states are, if they're not denied by the Constitution, by the federal government, all right, or if it's not given to the federal government, then they have it. Remember, the 10th Amendment comes in there and says, oh yeah, reserved power. So the states possess a reserved power over public education. Remember, it's got to be based on the infographic or map. So public education, yeah. The federal government can mandate public initiatives, but states reserve ultimate jurisdictions and implementations of public education policies. So it's reinforcing this idea of federalism. And you're understanding that states are really primarily in charge of public education policies. Given the unique demographics in each state, federalism fosters states to appropriate public education funds as they best see fit. And hopefully when you went over federalism, you talked about the positives and negatives of the system of federalism and why it's set up that federal government can do this or only this, and states can do this or only this, and why they set it up that way. Your understanding of how and why federalism was set up, structure of it, powers, how it all works out, and how it's being used politically can help you answer this question, and especially given the topics as explicitly mentioned in the FRQ. All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you have any questions, this would be the greatest of times. If anything, I thank you for your time, and if there's anything else you want to talk about when it comes to quantitative analysis, we can do that. I'm at your disposal.
Thank you. I think that was amazing. And again, as somebody who is a reader too, everything JB said, I was behind the camera going like this, like, yep, just do more, just do more, just do more. So thank you, JB. We hope that you guys join us tomorrow. We're going to be going over SCOTUS comparison. Make sure you like the video. That way more students can see it, but I know we're both very super excited about the SCOTUS one. Thank you for joining us, and have a great night, everybody. Thank you.
Good night.